I didn't notice a protest. It was nice. I was aware that there was some political difficulty, but that shouldn't cloud what is a most humane expression of support for those who are ordered to go and do difficult tasks abroad in the name of their country.
It's a bit upsetting for some of boys. Obviously, the Royal Irish Regiment is for people from both sides of the divide, Protestant, Catholic. It's actually Muslims in the Royal Irish Regiment as well. And to have people coming out and getting at them in their own city as well, it's maybe so much for them. I don't think they really mind now, but before they were a bit worried. But obviously, the support they just had there has just wiped all that out.
Families whose loved ones were killed by the British Army joined Sinn Féin's protest. They are angry no one has been held accountable for the deaths.
That many people in this city, particularly from within the nationalist and the Republican community, but not exclusively so, have lost loved ones at the hands of British Army soldiers. None of those British Army personnel have ever been brought to justice, and therefore there has continued to be a crying shame and a plea for justice for those families who lost those loved ones down through the years.
Ireland has a long and bloody history with the British Army. Historian Eamon Phoenix explains that Irishmen joined the British troops in their thousands during the First World War.
It's a period of Irish history that was airbrushed out really on the nationalist side. Following the 1916 Rising, the involvement of the Black and Tans, Irish nationalists almost pretended that their forebears had not fought for Britain and the Allies in World War I. But here we have a grave actually of a Belfast Catholic doctor who died at the Dardanelles in 1916.
I'm a Catholic. My family's from the south of Ireland. Why did I join the Royal Irish? My great-grandfather was a Connaught Ranger. My father was an Irish Fusilier. I joined the Royal Irish Rangers. There's been a sense of military tradition from Ireland, both north and south, worldwide, which goes back 300 years.
My own granda fought in the war. It's an issue where many of our grandparents throughout this island of Ireland had people who went and fought in wars, like the Somme and other places.
Remembrance Sunday was held at cenotaphs across the UK yesterday. It's an event which marks the loss of thousands of soldiers in the world wars and beyond. Republicans do not participate in the commemorations, but they have made gestures in recent years to recognise a shared military past.
When you look at Remembrance Sunday, we as Republicans will not be at that because obviously it's an issue where we have, because it's too close to the current history here. Our party has taken a massive step forward, again as we're Republicans, and we have taken massive steps forward when Alec Mosky led the first race at the Cenotaph at Belfast City Hall, come back 5 years ago. I think that was a massive step for Republicans to take because that was a commemoration event which took place.
I think in the past Republican mayors, not just in Belfast but in other parts of Northern Ireland, have attempted to go some distance to recognising that tradition. I think they should go the whole distance.
Sinn Féin Lord Mayor Tom Hartley did not attend this year's Remembrance Sunday in Belfast. However, Alban McGuinness did host the event when he was the city's first citizen.
I understand that this is a policy decision by Sinn Féin, and Tom Hartley has to reflect that policy decision. But I do think it would be better for him, on behalf of this city and the citizens, to lay a wreath at the official commemoration.
I think there are certain things like Remembrance Day, like our servicemen and women, thanking them for their service and giving thanks to God for their safe return, that should be above party politics.
By respecting one another's traditions, that you can in fact create the reconciliation that I've talked about previously. And if we ignore those opportunities, we ignore them at our peril. Because by joining in these commemorations, you create goodwill throughout the community.
It's only within the last 20 years that the Republic of Ireland has recognised its war dead on Remembrance Sunday.
It wasn't really until 1996 or thereabouts that the Irish government finally took position of really the heritage of the men who died in World War I from all parts of Ireland. You had the restoration of the Island Bridge Memorial Park in Dublin, its official opening by Bertie Ahern at that time, and today you have the involvement of all parties each July in commemorating Irish men who died in conflicts throughout the world. And this allows those who are descended from the men of the Great War to recall their loved ones and recall the fact that they were Irish, but yes, they did fight in the British Army.
The killing of innocent people at Bloody Sunday and revelations of army collusion with loyalist paramilitaries created deep-seated divisions between the British forces and nationalists. Many people in Northern Ireland don't feel a connection with the Royal Irish Regiment, and some still see them as the enemy.
A day will come where we will fight them, but today is not that day. Today we make our protest. We show them that republicanism is awoken.
Remember, the Republican movement was guilty of murdering many members of the security forces, members of the army, men and women, and also murdering far more members of the nationalist Catholic community than all other groups put together.
I have grown up with the British Army on our streets. I've grown up with the British Army raiding my house. I've grown up with the British Army killing people on our streets. So I know the facts that has done here.
Obviously, within the Unionist community, people would regard the army, British Army, as their own. But in the nationalist community, people do not identify with it. They do not see it as part of their political culture or part of their historic tradition. Yes, of course, people from the Catholic community have joined the British Army for many years, but still not part and parcel of the political culture of the nationalist community, and it never will be part of that.
But Eamon Phoenix says the generally peaceful passing of the army parade is a sign of progress.
Well, clearly we're a very divided society, but the fact that there wasn't a collision between the two protests is a sign that we have moved forward since 1998 in this society. Of course, there will be no general agreement on the commemoration of the British Army in Iraq or Afghanistan, because that's seen as highly politicised by, I think, both communities.
But for some, it's a process that's still very fragile.
It reminded us all that while we have a political process which has got us a huge distance, and that even to talk about having a peaceful parade and protest is indeed huge progress for here, I think it reminded us that it's very fragile. If something had gone wrong, if it hadn't worked out as it did, everybody was aware. We were on tenterhooks.
Over the next 3 years, we're going to see more bickering and more frustration created by the inability of two parties who represent the problem here to find a means to ending their disagreement and to create conditions in which genuine reconciliation will take place. I think that they will not be capable of doing that.
For these soldiers, this parade wasn't about politics. For them, it was about those soldiers killed and maimed.
As far as I'm concerned, this is what the day's about. Also remembering us, but remembering the wee lads, that are still in hospital today. Someone looking maybe 4 or 5 months have been in there now. Going to be in there for the next couple of years. And for people that we have lost, not only in this tour, previous tours as well. This is also for them as much as it is for us.
Lieutenant Colonel Tom Trinick saw the bloody effects of war at first hand. He was based in the Army Hospital at Camp Bastion in Afghanistan.
In our 3-month tour, we had, I believe, 11 British soldiers who were killed. The soldiers' injuries ranged from explosive damage, which might include, sadly, traumatic amputation, so they might lose a leg or an arm, and it would range right through to gunshot wounds, to the chest, abdomen. I think these young men make an extraordinary sacrifice for the good of their country. They, of course, don't go out to get injured, but in the course of their duty, they're put in these hazardous situations, and they bear their injuries remarkably bravely. Many of them are desperate to get back out to support their colleagues.